Hello and welcome to the Sharpening Report. Today I want to talk about the Heavenly Chariots Iceberg, and we're going to get into mythologies from around the world, but we're also going to compare that with the Bible and specifically the book of Ezekiel, and I'm really excited about that. At the end of this video, I have a major update on what's going on with the Daily Renegade website, and it is good news. But first, again, I want to explain to you the Heavenly Chariots Iceberg. Now, for those who aren't familiar with the iceberg concept, the metaphor of an iceberg is often used to illustrate the concept of descending levels of a particular topic. Each level is more deep and intense than the last. So just like an iceberg, only a small portion is visible above the surface, while the vast majority of its mass lies hidden beneath the water. So in this metaphor, the visible portion of the iceberg represents the superficial or surface level of a topic, while the hidden portion represents the deeper and more significant aspects. And this concept can be applied to a wide variety of fields, including psychology, sociology, politics, and even literature. So I like this metaphor. I believe it's a powerful tool for understanding the multi-layered nature of various topics, and it can help us recognize the hidden complexities and nuances that lie beneath the surface. So in today's video, we are going to look at the Heavenly Chariots Iceberg. First, dealing with the chariots from other mythologies, then comparing them with the biblical account of Ezekiel's vision of God's heavenly chariot. So first, the flying chariot in Greek mythology. Now in Greek mythology, the god Helios is often associated with a flying chariot that carries the sun across the sky each day. Helios is the god of the sun and is said to drive a chariot pulled by 4 horses, Pyros, Eos, Aethon, and Phlegon. I might have got some of those names. Together, those horses represent the 4 seasons of the year. Isn't that interesting? It sounds like Revelation, doesn't it? The 4 horsemen. Now, in Greek mythology, the flying chariot is a powerful symbol of the power and majesty of the sun, as well as the cyclical nature of life and death. In Greek mythology, the sun was believed to rise in the east each morning and set in the west each evening, only to be reborn again the next day. The cycle of birth, death, and rebirth is reflected in many aspects of Greek mythology, and the flying chariot is no exception. So, according to the myth, Helios rides his chariot across the sky each day, guided by the goddess Eos, the goddess of the dawn, and followed by the goddess Selene, the goddess of the moon. This procession of celestial bodies was believed to have a profound impact on the world below, influencing everything from the weather and the seasons to the behavior of animals and humans. The flying chariot also played a significant role in Greek literature and art. Many famous works of literature, including Homer's Odyssey and Ovid's Metamorphoses, make reference to Helios and his chariot. In art, the flying chariot is often depicted in intricate detail, with Helios driving the chariot and the 4 horses pulling it across the sky. These depictions of the flying chariot helped to reinforce the importance of the sun and the cycle of life and death in Greek culture. Today, the flying chariot remains an enduring symbol of the power and majesty of the sun in Greek mythology. It serves as a reminder of the cyclical nature of life and death and the important role that celestial bodies play in shaping our world. So whether viewed through the lens of religion, literature, or art, the flying chariot continues to captivate the imagination and inspire awe and wonder in people around the world. Number 2, the divine chariot in ancient Egyptian religion. So in ancient Egyptian religion, the divine chariot was an important symbol of the power and majesty of gods. The chariot was associated with the sun god Ra, who was believed to ride across the sky each day in a golden chariot, bringing light and warmth to the world. The divine chariot was often depicted in art and literature, with Ra seated at the helm, surrounded by various gods and goddesses. The chariot was said to be pulled by a team of 4 horses, again, each of which represented one of the cardinal directions. Together, the horses represented the power and reach of Ra, and the chariot symbolized his ability to travel through the heavens and beyond. The divine chariot played a significant role in ancient Egyptian mythology, serving as a powerful symbol of the god's ability to control the natural world. Ra's journey across the sky each day was believed to influence everything from the weather and the seasons to the behavior of animals and even humans. The chariot also represented the journey of the soul through the afterlife, with the god Anubis sometimes depicted as driving the chariot in this final journey. The divine chariot was also associated with the concept of Ma'at, or Mat, which was the ancient Egyptian concept of cosmic balance and order. Ra's journey across the sky each day was seen as as essential to maintaining this balance, and the divine chariot was viewed as a symbol of God's role in upholding the natural order of the universe. Today, the divine chariot remains an important symbol in Egyptian mythology and is often referenced in popular culture. It serves as a reminder of the power and majesty of the gods in Egyptian mythology, as well as the importance of balance and order in the natural world. The chariot continues to inspire people. A lot of ancient Egyptian mythology does around the world, just as it did in ancient Egypt. Next one down, the third one, the Sun Chariot in Norse mythology. In Norse mythology, the Sun Chariot was a symbol of the sun's journey across the sky and the cycle of day and night. You see this idea repeated a lot throughout these myths. The chariot was driven by the god Sol, who was the personification of the sun, and was pulled by two horses named Arvik and Elsvid. According to the legend, the Sun Chariot was created by the god of the sky, Heimdall. He crafted the chariot from gold and imbued it with the power to carry Sol across the sky each day. The horses that pulled the chariot were also believed to have magical powers, capable of galloping across the sky with incredible speed. The Sun Chariot played a significant role in Norse mythology, representing the importance of the sun in daily life and the cycle of seasons. The journey of Sol across the sky each day was believed to influence the behavior of humans and animals, as well as the growth of crops and the natural world. The chariot also served as a symbol of the power and might of the gods, as they were believed to control the forces of nature and the natural world. In some versions of Norse mythology, the Sun Chariot was also associated with the end of the world, known as Ragnarok. During this catastrophic event, it was said that Sol and the other gods would ride into battle against the forces of evil, and the Sun Chariot would be destroyed in the process. The Sun Chariot continues to captivate people around the world, inspiring artists, writers, and filmmakers to explore its meaning and significance in Norse mythology. It remains an important symbol of the power and influence of the sun in daily life in the natural world, as well as the might and power of the gods in Norse mythology. In modern times, the Sun Chariot has been referenced in popular culture in various ways, from video games and comic books to movies and television shows. It still continues to inspire wonder and awe in certain people around the world, reminding them of the rich cultural heritage and mythology that's shaped many worldviews and beliefs throughout history. Next one down, the Heavenly Chariot in Chinese mythology. Now, in Chinese mythology, the Heavenly Chariot, known as the Divine Chariot, is another important symbol of power and authority of the gods. It is said to be driven by the Jade Emperor, the supreme deity in Chinese mythology, and is often depicted as a magnificent carriage adorned with precious gems and pulled by mythical creatures such as dragons and phoenixes. According to the legend, the Heavenly Chariot was created by the god of fire, Zhu Rong, who crafted it from precious metals and imbued it with the power to transport the gods across the sky. It was believed to be capable of traveling vast distances in a single day, allowing the gods to journey between the heavens and the earth with ease. The Heavenly Chariot played a significant role in Chinese mythology, representing the power and authority of the Jade Emperor and the other gods. It was also seen as a symbol of good fortune and prosperity, as it was believed to bring luck and prosperity to those who were blessed by its presence. In addition to its religious significance, the Heavenly Chariot also served as a source of inspiration for artists and writers in Chinese culture. It has been depicted in countless works of art, including paintings, sculptures, and literary works, as a symbol of the grandeur and majesty of the heavens. Now, despite its importance in Chinese mythology and culture, the Heavenly Chariot has not been as well known or widely studied as some of the other chariots in ancient mythology. However, its significance can still be seen in modern Chinese culture as it continues to inspire artists and writers, and is referenced in popular culture again, such as TV, movies, video games, that kind of stuff. And in recent years, there has been renewed interest in Chinese mythology and the heavenly chariot as scholars and enthusiasts seek to uncover the stories and legends that have shaped Chinese culture for thousands of years. As more research is done and new discoveries are made, we may gain a greater understanding of the role that the heavenly chariot played in ancient Chinese mythology and the impact that it had on the culture and beliefs of the Chinese people. All right, next one down. Hindu Vimanas. Now, broadly, Hindu mythology describes Vimanas as flying chariots or vehicles used by gods and goddesses. These chariots were said to be made of gold or other precious metals and had advanced technological capabilities. The Vimanas were described as having the ability to fly at great speeds, maneuver in different directions, and carry weapons. Hindu texts also mention that these flying chariots were used in battles and wars. The Rig Veda, one of the oldest Hindu texts, describes the Vimanas as being able to travel long distances and move with the speed of the wind. It also mentions that these vehicles had the ability to change shape and size depending on the user's wishes. The Ramayana and the Mahabharata, two of the most well-known Hindu epics, also feature Vimanas in their stories. In these texts, the Vimanas are described as being used by gods and goddesses to travel between different worlds and planets. The Vimanas are flying vehicles or celestial chariots described in the Hindu Bhagavata Purana. These vehicles are believed to have been used by the gods and demigods in ancient time, and the concept of Vimanas is an integral part of Hindu mythology, and they are often associated with various divine beings, including the god Indra and the demon king Ravana. So we can look at the origins, characteristics, and significance of Vimanas in the Hindu Bhagavata Purana, as well as their cultural and religious impact. So the term Vimana is derived from the Sanskrit word Viman, which means a vehicle or conveyance. The concept of Vimanas can be traced back to Rig Veda, which we just mentioned before. It's one of the oldest texts in Hinduism, and it describes various flying chariots, including the chariot of the god Indra, which is described as a golden vehicle pulled by horses. The chariot of the sun god Surya is also described as a flying vehicle in the Rig Veda. The Vimanas described in the Bhagavad Purana are different from those described in the Rig Veda. The Vimanas in the Bhagavata Purana are described as having the ability to fly in the air, in water, and in space. They are also said to be equipped with various weapons and are often associated with the gods and demigods. The Vimanas are described as being made of various material, including gold, silver, and iron. According to the Bhagavata Purana, the Vimanas are operated by advanced technology and are powered by various energy sources. Some Vimanas are said to be powered by solar energy, while others are powered by wind or by the chanting of mantras. The Vimanas are also said to have the ability to travel through time and space. The Vimanas have significant cultural and religious significance in Hindu mythology. They are associated, again, with various divine beings, including the god Indra and demon king Ravana. They're often used as a symbol of the divine power and are associated with the power and authority of the gods and demigods. The Vimanas are also associated with the concept of dharma, which is a central concept in Hinduism. Dharma refers to the moral and ethical principles that govern human behavior. The Vimanas are often depicted as being used by the gods and demigods to uphold dharma and to maintain order in the universe. The Vimanas are also associated with the concept of karma, which refers to the actions and consequences of those actions. They're often used by the gods and demigods to carry out the consequences of karma and to maintain balance in the universe. The concept of Vimanas had a significant impact on Hindu culture and religion. The Vimanas are often depicted in Hindu art and literature, and of course, like we mentioned, including the Bhagavata Purana, the Mahabharata, and the Ramayana. The Vimanas are also depicted in various sculptures and carvings found in Hindu temples and shrines. Vimanas have also had an impact on Hindu religious practices. The Vimanas are often used as a symbol of the divine power and are associated with the power and authority of the gods and demigods. They're also used in various rituals and ceremonies, including the puja, or worship of the gods, and the yajna, or fire sacrifice. The concept of Vimanas has also had an impact on Hindu philosophy and science. The Vimanas are often used as a metaphor for the advancement of knowledge and technology. The concept of Vimanas has also been used to explain various scientific phenomena, including the principles of flight and the concept of space travel. In modern times, the concept of Vimanas has been the subject of various debates and discussions. Some scholars and researchers have claimed that the Vimanas described in the Bhagavata Purana were actually advanced flying machines or spacecraft. They have pointed to the descriptions of the Vimanas as being powered by various energy sources and having the ability to travel through time and space as evidence of their advanced technology. However, these claims have been met with skepticism from other scholars and researchers. They argue that the descriptions of the Vimanas in the Bhagavata Purana are purely mythological and cannot be interpreted as descriptions of advanced technology. They also point out that there is no archaeological or historical evidence to support the existence of Vimanas in ancient India. There's several individuals in Hindu mythology who are associated with the Vimanas. Again, these individuals include the god Indra and the demon king Ravana. So Indra is one of the most important gods in Hindu mythology. He's the god of thunder and rain and is often depicted as riding on a flying chariot, or Vimana. Indra is also associated with the concept of Dharma and is often depicted as using his Vimana to uphold Dharma and to maintain order in the universe. Ravana is the demon king in the Hindu epic Ramayana. He is often depicted as riding on a flying Vimana called Pushpaka. The Pushpaka Vimana is said to have been stolen from the god Kubera and was used by Ravana to travel to various places, including the kingdom of Ayodhya, where he kidnapped Sita, the wife of Lord Rama. The concept of Vimanas has been the subject of various teachings and interpretations in Hinduism. Some scholars and researchers interpret the Vimanas as being purely mythological and symbolic, representing the power and authority of the gods and demigods. They argue that the Vimanas were never meant to be interpreted as descriptions of advanced technology. Other scholars and researchers interpret the Vimanas as being descriptions of advanced technology that existed in ancient India. They argue that the descriptions of the Vimanas as being powered by various energy sources and having the ability to travel through time and space are evidence of their advanced technology. In recent years, there has been a renewed interest in the concept of Vimanas, particularly in the context of ancient Indian history and archaeology. Some researchers have claimed that there is evidence of Vimanas in ancient Indian texts and artifacts. They point to various ancient texts, including, again, the Mahabharata and the Ramayana, as containing descriptions of advanced flying machines. So, to wrap all that up, in conclusion, the Vimanas are flying vehicles or celestial chariots described in the Hindu Bhagavata Purana and other texts. They're associated with various divine beings, including the god Indra and demon king Ravana. The Vimanas are described as having the ability to fly in the air, in water, and in space, and are often equipped with various weapons. The concept of Vimanas has had a significant impact on Hindu culture and religion and has been the subject of various interpretation and debates. Some scholars and researchers interpret Vimanas as purely symbolic and mythological, while others interpret them as a description of advanced technology that existed in ancient India. Despite the ongoing debates and discussions, the Vimanas continue to be an integral part of Hindu mythology and culture, and their significance and meaning continue to be explored and interpreted by scholars and researchers. Historically, there have been several attempts to explain the Vimanas described in Hindu texts. Again, some researchers suggest that these flying chariots were either advanced aircraft or spacecraft that were used by ancient Indians. Others argue that Vimanas were purely mythical and just a product of Hindu imagination. Now, despite the lack of concrete evidence about the Vimanas, they remain an essential part of Hindu mythology and culture. In modern times, there have been several attempts to recreate Vimanas using modern technology. For example, in 2015, an Indian engineer claimed to have built a working model of a Vimana based on the description found in ancient Hindu texts. All right, next one down, Jewish Merkabahs. Jewish mysticism is the system of beliefs and practices that has its roots in the earliest days of Judaism. The term Jewish mysticism refers to a variety of different mystical traditions that have developed within Judaism over the centuries. One of the key beliefs in Jewish mysticism is the concept of the Merkabah, which refers to the chariot-like vehicle that is said to transport individuals to higher spiritual realms. So we can explore the Jewish beliefs in Merkabahs and in Jewish mysticism. Now, again, this is just Jewish mysticism, so not all Jewish believers would hold to these beliefs, and certainly Christians wouldn't either. But this is just from a Jewish mysticism standpoint. Now, the roots of Jewish mysticism can be traced back to the Second Temple period, which lasted from the 6th century BC to the 1st century AD. During this time, Jewish literature began to include mystical and visionary texts, such as the Book of Ezekiel, which contains descriptions of visions of the divine throne chariot or Merkabah. Now, again, from a Jewish mysticism standpoint, that interpretation of the Book of Ezekiel would be very different from a Christian interpretation of the Book of Ezekiel. The Merkabah tradition continued to develop in the early rabbinic period from the 2nd century AD to the 5th century AD with the emergence of the Hekalat and Merkabah mysticisms. The Hekalat texts describe mystical journeys to the heavenly palaces, while the Merkabah texts focus on the chariot-like vehicle that transports the mystic to these realms. The Merkabah tradition continued to evolve throughout the medieval period with the emergence of Kabbalah, a mystical system that emphasizes the importance of Jewish mysticism as a path to spiritual enlightenment. The Merkabah tradition is based on the belief that there are higher spiritual realms that can be accessed through mystical practices. The Merkabah is the vehicle that transports the mystic to these realms. The Merkabah is often described as a chariot or throne that is pulled by powerful angelic beings. The Merkabah mystics engage in a variety of practices to prepare themselves for their mystical journey. These practices include fasting, prayer, meditation, and the recitation of mystical formulas and prayers. One of the key beliefs in Jewish mysticism is the importance of the divine name. According to Jewish mystics, the divine name contains a hidden power that can be accessed through mystical practices. The Merkabah mystics believe that the divine name is a key to unlocking the secrets of the universe and accessing the higher spiritual realms. The Merkabah mystics also believe in the importance of studying the Torah, the Jewish holy scriptures. According to Jewish mystics, the Torah contains hidden meanings and secret wisdom that can only be accessed through mystical practices. Now, there are several individuals in Jewish history who are associated with Jewish mysticism. These individuals include Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, and Rabbi Moshe Cordovero. Rabbi Akiva was a prominent Jewish sage who lived in the 2nd century AD. He is known for his role in the development of the Merkabah mysticism. According to tradition, Rabbi Akiva entered the Pardes, or the heavenly realms, and was able to gain insight into the secrets of the universe. Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai was a prominent Jewish mystic who lived in the 2nd century AD. He is known for his role in the development of the Kabbalah and is the author of the Zohar, one of the most important texts in Jewish mysticism. Rabbi Moshe Cordovero was a prominent Jewish mystic who lived in the 16th century AD. He is known for his role in the development of the Kabbalah and is the author of several important texts in Jewish mysticism, including the Pardes Rimonim. The teachings and interpretations of Merkabah mysticism have varied over time, and different schools of thought have emerged. One of the key debates in Jewish mysticism has been the balance between mystical experiences and practical actions in the world. Some Jewish mystics have emphasized the importance of mystical experiences as a way to connect with the divine and access higher spiritual realms. These mystics have argued that the ultimate goal of human existence is to achieve spiritual enlightenment and union with the divine. Other Jewish mystics have emphasized the importance of practical actions in the world, such as actions of kindness and charity. These mystics have argued that while mystical experiences are important, they must be balanced with practical actions that bring about positive change in the world. One of the most important texts in Jewish mysticism is the Zohar. It's a mystical commentary on the Torah written by Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. The Zohar contains a variety of mystical teachings and practices, including the concept of the Sephirot, the 10 attributes or emanations of God that are believed to govern the universe. Another important text in Jewish mysticism is the Sefer Yetzirah, or Book of Creation, which is attributed to the patriarch Abraham. The Sefer Yetzirah contains mystical teachings on the creation of the universe and the nature of the divine. Now, Jewish mysticism has not been without its controversies. One of the key debates in Jewish mysticism has been the question of whether or not it is appropriate to engage in mystical practices at all. Some rabbis have argued that mystical practices are dangerous and should be avoided, while others have embraced mysticism as a path to spiritual enlightenment. Another controversy in Jewish mysticism has been the question of the relationship between Jewish mysticism and other mystical traditions, such as those found in Sufism and Hinduism. Some rabbis have argued that Jewish mysticism is unique to Judaism and should not be influenced by other traditions, while others have embraced the idea of cross-cultural exchange and exploration. Jewish mysticism, with its emphasis on the Merkabah and mystical practices, has played an important role in Jewish history and thought. From the Second Temple period to the present day, Jewish mystics have sought to connect with the divine and access higher spiritual realms. While Jewish mysticism has not been without its controversies, it's remained an important aspect of Jewish thought and spirituality within that group. And again, Jewish mysticism and like Orthodox Judaism are two totally different things. Okay, so that brings us to Ezekiel's vision. We are at the bottom of the iceberg. This is fascinating to me because, as many of you know, I'm a Christian, so I believe in the book of Ezekiel and in the entire Bible, and it's just really cool to think about this figure of Ezekiel having this vision and, like, you know, just being a human being, what would it be like to see something like this? So I'm excited about this part of the video. The book of Ezekiel, it's known for its vivid and possibly symbolic descriptions of God's presence and power, including a series of visions of God's chariot or throne that appeared throughout the text. These visions have been interpreted in a variety of ways over the centuries, reflecting the diverse theological and cultural context in which they have been studied. So here we will explore Ezekiel's visions of God's chariot in the context of the biblical text, various interpretations of these visions, and biographical information on historical and modern people who hold various beliefs about them. The book of Ezekiel is one of the prophetic books of the Hebrew Bible, and it was likely written either, and this is contested, either by Ezekiel himself or by a priestly author who lived during the Babylonian exile in the 6th century BC, or a scribe, or, you know, there's different ideas about the actual writing. Because there are points where Ezekiel's referring to himself in the first person, but then sometimes it's in the third. So that could have happened a variety of ways. The book is known for its highly symbolic language and its focus on God's judgment and restoration of Israel. And when I say symbolic language, I'm not advocating for a symbolic view of the book of Ezekiel. I personally take a literal view to it. There are obviously some symbols and metaphors, like when he has a hot coal put in his mouth, that means something. You know, it's not like the angel was trying to hurt him. So there are some symbols and things, but while I say that, just know going forward that doesn't mean that I'm advocating for an entirely symbolic or metaphorical view of the book. I'm just recognizing that there are some symbols in there. Okay, so Ezekiel's visions of God's chariot are central to the book's theological message, and they appear in several different forms throughout the text. In the first vision, which occurs in the opening chapter of the book, Ezekiel sees a stormy wind and a great cloud approaching from the north, out of which emerges living creatures, a living creature with the appearance of a man, but with 4 faces and 4 wings. And we get that from Ezekiel 1:1 through 28. This creature, or these creatures, depending how you read it, is accompanied by a wheel within a wheel that is covered in eyes and is said to move in any direction without turning. The creature and the wheels are surrounded by a brightness or radiance that's described as the likeness of the glory of the Lord, from Ezekiel 1:28. And this vision is often interpreted as a symbolic representation of God's power and transcendence, although a more literal interpretation would say that this is actually the throne of God. This is God's real chariot. This is what it looks like. This is how it operates. In later chapters, Ezekiel has additional visions of the chariot or throne of God. In one vision, he sees the chariot being carried by 4 cherubim, each with 4 faces and 4 wings. That's from Ezekiel 10:1-22. In another vision, Ezekiel is transported to the temple in Jerusalem, where he sees the glory of the Lord filling the temple and the surrounding area. And that's Ezekiel 43:1-5. The visions of God's chariot in Ezekiel have been interpreted in a variety of ways over the centuries, reflecting different theological and cultural contexts. So in Jewish tradition, the chariot is often associated with the Merkabah that we talked about earlier. And again, it's a mystical concept that refers to the throne chariot of God described in Ezekiel's visions. This concept was central to the mystical teaching of the Jewish philosopher and mystic, Rabbi Akiva, that we mentioned before, who lived in the 2nd century AD. As we kind of went over, Akiva's teachings on the Merkabah were highly influential in the development of Jewish mysticism, and they emphasized the importance of ascetic practices and meditation as a means of attaining spiritual enlightenment. And according to Akiva, the Merkabah represented the ultimate spiritual goal, and those who could properly understand and interpret the vision of Ezekiel would be granted access to the divine presence. Now, in Christian tradition, Ezekiel's vision of the chariot have been interpreted in a variety of ways, often focusing on the idea of divine judgment and redemption. In the New Testament book of Revelation, for example, the image of the living creatures and the wheel within wheel are associated with the 4 living creatures and sometimes even the 24 elders who worship God in heaven. Revelation 4:6-11. Now, again, not everybody interprets it that way, but that is one interpretation. In later Christian interpretations, Ezekiel's visions have been associated with the idea of the heavenly ascent, in which the visionary is transported to the heavenly realm and experiences a vision of God's glory. This concept was central to the teachings of the Christian mystic Saint John of the Cross, who lived in the 16th century AD. John's writings on the dark night of the soul and the importance of contemplative prayer were influenced by his understanding of Ezekiel's visions as a means of attaining union with God. And again, that's Christian mysticism, so that's not traditional Christianity. Now, in Islamic tradition, Ezekiel's vision of the chariot have been interpreted as a symbol of the divine presence and the ultimate spiritual goal. The Persian Sufi poet Rumi who lived in the 13th century AD, wrote extensively on the theme of the chariot in his poetry, often using it as a metaphor for the soul's journey toward union with God. In Hindu tradition, Ezekiel's visions of the chariot have been compared to the concept of Vimanas that we looked at earlier, which refers to the flying machines or chariots mentioned in ancient Hindu texts. And the Vimanas were said to be used by the gods and were often associated with the concept of spiritual ascension and transcendence. Now, throughout history, many individuals have offered their own interpretations of Ezekiel's visions of God's chariot, reflecting their own theological and cultural contexts. So here are examples of a few of the historical and modern figures who have contributed to the interpretation of these visions. Again, Rabbi Akiva, as mentioned earlier, Rabbi Akiva was a prominent Jewish philosopher and mystic who lived in the 2nd century AD. His teachings on the Merkabah were highly influential in the development of Jewish mysticism, and he emphasized the importance of ascetic practices and meditation as a means of attaining spiritual enlightenment. And then again, St. John of the Cross, he was a Christian mystic who lived in the 16th century AD. His writings on the dark night of the soul and the importance of contemplative prayer were influenced by his understanding of Ezekiel's visions as a means of attaining union with God. Rumi was a Persian Sufi poet who lived in the 13th century AD. He wrote extensively on the throne of the chariot in his poetry, often using it as a metaphor for the soul's journey toward union with God. Swami Vivekananda was an Indian philosopher and spiritual leader who lived in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. He interpreted Ezekiel's vision of the chariot in the context of Hindu philosophy, comparing them to the concept of the Vimana and emphasizing the importance of spiritual transcendence. Jacob Boehme was a German mystic and theologian who lived in the 17th century AD. His writings on the nature of God and the soul were influenced by his interpretation of Ezekiel's visions, which he saw as a symbol of the ultimate spiritual goal. Of course, we have the traditional Christian literal interpretation, which is what I personally hold to, is that, again, this is the literal throne of God. This is the literal chariot of God, and Ezekiel got to see it and even be transported within it as a prophet of God, and was shown many things, some even prophetic. Ezekiel's visions of God's chariot are a central part of the book of Ezekiel, and they have been interpreted in a variety of ways over the centuries, reflecting the diverse theological and cultural contexts in which they have been studied, from Jewish mysticism to Christian mysticism, Islamic mysticism to Hindu philosophy to just traditional Christianity. The chariot has served as a powerful symbol of this ultimate spiritual goal and path towards spiritual enlightenment. Now, traditional Christianity wouldn't really word it that way, but those other ones, especially the mysticisms, they would think of it that way. The diverse interpretation of Ezekiel's vision highlight the enduring relevance and significance of this ancient text in our modern world. We can take three of these and kind of compare them. With the concept of Ezekiel's vision, Vimanas, and Merkabahs, they may seem vastly different at first glance, but there are some intriguing parallels that can be drawn. If you take the biblical interpretation of different religions and stuff, the idea that at one time angels were put in charge of these regions, but they became corrupt and started developing their own religions and wanting worship for themselves. If you take that view, it makes sense because they would be borrowing from what they know. These fallen angels would know about God and God's chariot and how it works. It makes sense that they would borrow from that and then twist it around and kind of do their own spin on it. Ezekiel's vision, Merkabahs, and Vimanas. All three concepts are associated with transportation to a higher spiritual realm. In Ezekiel's vision, the prophet is transported to a heavenly realm, while in Hindu mythology, Vimanas are piloted by gods and are said to be able to travel to other worlds. And in Jewish mysticism, Merkabahs are used by mystics to ascend to higher spiritual realms. Secondly, all three concepts are associated with light and radiance. In Ezekiel's vision, the glory of God is described as being surrounded by a bright light. In Hindu mythology, Vimanas are often described as emitting a bright light, and in Jewish mysticism, the Merkabah is often described or depicted as emitting a bright light. Finally, all three concepts are associated with angelic beings. In Ezekiel's vision, the throne of God is surrounded by angelic beings, while in Hindu mythology, Vimanas are said to be piloted by gods. And in Jewish mysticism, the rider of the Merkabah is said to be surrounded by angelic beings. In conclusion, while the concepts of Ezekiel's vision, Vimanas, and Merkabahs may seem vastly different at first glance, there are intriguing parallels that can be drawn between them. All three are associated with transportation to spiritual realms, light and radiance, angelic beings. While the origins and context of these concepts may differ, their underlying themes and motifs suggest a shared human fascination with the divine and the transcendent. It's important to note, too, that these concepts are deeply rooted in the cultural and religious contexts in which they arose. So Ezekiel's vision, for example, emerged in the context of ancient Israelite religion, while Vimanas and Merkabahs were part of mythologies and mystical traditions of Hinduism and Judaism, respectively. And as such, it's crucial to understand that the cultural and religious significance of these concepts are at play here, and to realize where these things kind of came from and how they developed throughout time. Furthermore, it's worth noting that these concepts have been interpreted and reinterpreted over the centuries, often in ways that reflect the concerns and values of the society in which they are being studied. In Jewish mysticism, for example, the Merkabah was often associated with asceticism and the pursuit of spiritual purity, while in Hindu mythology, the Vimana was sometimes interpreted as a symbol of social and political power. So overall, the concepts of Ezekiel's vision, Vimanas, and Merkabahs are rich and complex, and their exploration can offer valuable insights into the ways in which different cultures and religions have understood and experienced and tried to experience the divine. Whether viewed as symbolic representations of divine power or as literal vehicles for transcendent experience, these concepts continue to capture the human imagination and inspire spiritual seekers around the world. Now, the book of Ezekiel is one of the most important texts in the Old Testament for modern evangelicals. It's considered to be a prophetic book that contains a powerful message about God's judgment and the ultimate redemption of humanity. For many evangelicals, the book of Ezekiel is seen as a source of inspiration, hope, and guidance in their spiritual journey. So one of the key themes of the book of Ezekiel is the importance of repentance and the need for individuals to turn away from sin and towards God. This message is particularly relevant to modern evangelicals who place a strong emphasis on the need for personal salvation and spiritual transformation. The book of Ezekiel reminds believers that God is a just God who demands righteousness and obedience from his people, but also that he is a merciful God who offers forgiveness and redemption to those who repent and turn to him. Another important theme in the book of Ezekiel is the concept of the watchman, a term used to describe a prophet who is called to warn the people of impending judgment and to call them to repentance. This idea is particularly important for modern evangelicals who often see themselves as called to be watchmen in their communities to spread the message of salvation and repentance to others. The book of Ezekiel serves as a reminder that this calling is both a privilege and a responsibility, and that it requires a deep commitment to God and a willingness to speak the truth even when it is difficult. The book of Ezekiel is also important for modern evangelicals because it contains many powerful visions of God's glory and majesty. These visions serve as a source of inspiration and awe for believers, reminding them of the greatness of God and the importance of living a life that is worthy of his calling. Many evangelicals find comfort and encouragement in these visions, particularly during times of struggle or doubt, and see them as a reminder that God is always present and always working in their lives. And then finally, the book of Ezekiel is important for modern evangelicals because it contains a powerful message of hope and redemption. Despite the warnings of judgment and the call to repentance, the book of Ezekiel ultimately points to a future in which God's people will be restored and redeemed. This message is particularly relevant for evangelicals who often face difficult circumstances and challenges in their lives, but who remain steadfast in their faith and the promise of God's salvation. So in conclusion, the book of Ezekiel, vital text for modern evangelicals. It offers a powerful message of repentance, watchfulness, inspiration, and hope. Its themes and messages remain relevant and important today. Its visions of God's glory and majesty continue to inspire and awe believers around the world. For evangelicals, the book of Ezekiel is a reminder of the power and grace of God and a call to live a life that is worthy of his calling. All right, so that is the entire Heavenly Chariots Iceberg explained. And now for that big announcement I talked about in the beginning of the video. As many of you already know, we've been having some issues with our current Daily Renegade website. Some people have difficulty logging in, or some people it just takes a long time to load. And it's only some people on some browsers, but it's still enough that people have canceled their accounts over it, and which, we don't want to see that happen. We want to fix it. So we have now decided to partner with Uscreen, a phenomenal internet company and the same one Skywatch TV uses for their conferences, to build a brand new website and, if all goes well, a phone and TV app are in the hopefully near future. Now, I know I haven't been posting new content as much lately, but that is all going to change soon. The reason is because I've been focused on the behind-the-scenes stuff of Daily Renegade, working to get you guys a better website and an overall more enjoyable experience for all of our members. I will provide additional details in the near future, but for now, just know that we are currently in the process of switching over, and we will make another big announcement when it is all finished and explain how everything will work going forward. I really think you're going to enjoy what we have coming, so stick with us. And I also want to give a very big thank you to all who are supporting us financially right now. We could not do this without you. And I mentioned in another video, too, that there were a couple of times I wondered if we were going to have to shut Daily Renegade down because just the funds weren't there. But every time it started to get to that point, apparently God has led some of you to donate, and we've been able to continue. So we really could not do this without you. So thank you so much. We ask if you're able to continue supporting us financially, please do. If you can't financially, I totally understand. The economy's terrible. But prayerfully, you can help keep us in prayer. Pray that God gives us wisdom and shows us the paths that he wants us to take. So thank you all so much. That is going to be all for today's episode of the Sharpening Report. Until next time, love you all. Take care, and God bless.